Thank you, Ms. Sutherland. The next we will go to Mr. Stanton, then followed by Ms. Norton and Mr. Lowenthal. Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for holding this hearing. I want to thank each of the witnesses for your very important testimony. In the desert Southwest, climate change has caused a long-term drought, and the reservoirs that supply water to the region, Lake Powell and Lake Mead, are at historically low levels, threatening the long-term sustainability of this critical water source. Southern Arizona in particular is heavily dependent on water delivered from the Colorado River by way of the Central Arizona Project. Unfortunately, they are finding PFAS in groundwater, their only other reliable potable water source, near the Air Force Base and Air National Guard installation in Tucson, and it is spreading throughout the community. As a result, the drinking water aquifer that serves over 700,000 people is at risk. To add to the complications, Tucson is a closed basin water system with little to no surface water that can flush PFAS out of the basin, making the community even more vulnerable to PFAS contamination. The longer we wait to treat the PFAS contamination, the more at risk our water will be, and the more it will cost to clean up. And most importantly, PFAS contaminated water is water the city of Tucson cannot use, even in the middle of this historical drought. In addition to Tucson, thousands living near Luke Air Force Base in the Phoenix metropolitan area have had to use bottled water for drinking and cooking for most of this year after high level of PFAS was found in their tap water. The Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act provides federal funding for the treatment of PFAS. This is a start, and I look forward to working with my colleagues here on the committee to do even more to address this issue that affects one of our most precious resources, our water. I have a couple questions for Dr. Sutherland. Dr. Sutherland, what else can be done to address PFAS contamination in areas that are particularly vulnerable due to long-term drought?
Yeah, I think the entire Superfund program had an initiative that was suspended during the previous administration, but they're picking back up on now, which is to evaluate every Superfund site for its vulnerability to climate change impacts. And that could be drought, as in, the hellish situation you have, or it could be flooding in the Northeast. And so they are often running now on really trying to update all their evaluations of their contaminated sites. That's also going to be a major initiative of the Biden administration at EPA to make sure every program, air, water, land, incorporates environmental justice concerns into their evaluations of new projects, not just the old ones like Superfund sites, but any new evaluations they do of community threats.
Dr. Sutherland, what additional resources are needed to expedite the investigations and remediation of PFAS in communities like Tucson?
So I think Congress has looked at special appropriations already for PFAS. I know they are working very carefully with the Department of Defense to make sure the Department of Defense addresses their contamination problems. I think they're far enough along now on DOD. They've done a lot of monitoring and they know where their problems exist. And now they just need the funds. And I think they've got a good start on that to start the cleanup.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy. I'm a former mayor of a city, so I have a lot of respect for town managers and city managers. My city manager saved my bacon many times when I was mayor of Phoenix. In your testimony, you discussed the challenges and efforts your community has faced in remediating PFAS in the drinking water. As I noted, the infrastructure bill includes investments to address PFAS in drinking water, specifically $5 billion to help small and disadvantaged communities, $4 billion to help drinking water utilities remove PFAS from their supplies or connect well owners to local water systems. You did address it in your earlier testimony, but I'll give you a chance to add some if you'd like. I'd like to know what additional steps you think the federal government should take to assist smaller communities like your own, which can face significant hurdles to implement necessary remediation.
Thank you, sir, for the question. I would say amongst all the challenges we have, I think those funding opportunities are going to be a tremendous benefit to us. We are trying to leverage everything we can, be it working with our Council of Governments, other agencies, partnerships with other communities around us, trying to leverage better opportunities to secure that funding. We're looking at funding coming to North Carolina right now with some of those funds. We are lobbying to get in excess of the posted 3.07%. There are hundreds of millions of dollars of need in North Carolina. I run a very small utility. Our water plant's only 2 million gallons a day, which on the grand spectrum is tiny. And we're looking at multiples, tens of millions of dollars. And so when you apply this to the much larger facilities, it is an enormous amount of money. So I think the funding streams that are identified so far are a huge help. I also believe that having tangible limits, the MCLs, having those be precise numbers will go a long way, because as we look to go towards kind of the product market and potential litigation to recoup costs that we're incurring, having recommendations removed and saying that there's an established standard will help us tremendously. Because just like if you're going down the highway or you go around a curve and there's a yellow sign that says recommended speeds 45, well, the police officer's not going to pull you over for going 55. And so we're experiencing that at the contamination level. There's recommendations. All of our numbers far exceed that, but from a torts claim or other types of product, having a precise number would be a great benefit to us.
Thank you for your testimony and thank you for your service, and I yield back.